The Stochastic Fiction Game. This is a 2-hour writing game for today. I'm going to press this button right here to start the timer. And then I will generate the stochastic fiction outline. This 2-hour writing game involves creating the stochastic fiction outline and during the 2 hours using the story elements within the stochastic fiction outline to create a story. And then at the end of this, read it and rate it. See how that story goes, all live while I type stochastic.py. This outputs a file. This file we'll see there. This is a story, a stochastic fiction game. We're going to open this up to see the stochastic fiction elements, and these story elements are what we're going to be writing to for the next 2 hours. For today's stochastic fiction game story elements, we have setting time past, setting main location plane, conflict person versus destiny, quantity of primary characters 2, point of view third, tense, present tense, genre, fantasy, format, novel last chapter. Those are the stochastic fiction game story elements for today. Let's go ahead and write the last chapter of a novel. I got to think of that novel. It's got to be on a main location, the plane. At least the last chapter of the novel has to be. The destiny part, who knows? Primary characters will be 2. Point of view third. In the past. But it is fantasy. So, well, that can mean so many different things. Fantasy adventure. Fantasy sexual. Fantasy make-believe stuff that doesn't have some sort of easy label to put up on it. And it's the novel of the last chapter. Boy. Okay. Well, that's what was randomly given to me. Now, I need to be able to do something with it. Things aren't as random as they seem. You can make a little bit of prediction in the chaos of where that chaos came from and the intent behind it. And I need to think of a chapter of a last novel with like fantasy, person versus destiny. Maybe there'll be something great. Maybe there's going to be something on a plane too. This has to happen on a plane. The main location of this chapter is on a plane for destiny. I mean, already I'm thinking of like the mini movies I've seen where the last, scene is with them on a plane going to where they're destined to go to, whether it's pair bonded and they're leaving or they're leaving from trouble. I mean, I can see that. That's a very famous. I'm thinking lots of movies more than books that I've ever read that ended on a plane or in a plane or gave some indication that the plane is getting them to the better place and it's their destiny to go on this thing and get away. Whether you've just robbed a bank, just declared your love, just running away with people. Most of the things that I think where destiny would happen. That's fantasy. It could be a fantasy about, like, being a rock star, too, I suppose. It could be a money fantasy. And they're on a plane, and there's 2 of them. I feel like being on a plane alone with only 2 people is a lot more likely if you have a lot of money and you're famous. This is the past. This is on a plane. This is just 2 people in third person fantasy. Novel last chapter, present tense. Man. Boring. But let's not make it boring. We are the writer, so I've got control. Supposedly. I'm. Do I want to put them on the plane? Are they getting on the plane? Are they getting off the plane? Maybe they're getting off the plane. Maybe that's what I could have at least drive the last chapter of this is they're on the plane and when they get off, their destiny is met. This is fantasy, so are they going to be rich? Like, is this a modern day fantasy? I'd really like to go fantasy adventure on this, because then I could at least have some sort of knowledge about what that. I mean, fantasy rich. Ooh boy. It's a boring story. I'm trying to find my enthusiasm for this subject, but that's the point of the game. You can write a story out of anything. I just need a fantasy in the last chapter for Destiny, though. Like, Destiny, I'm destined to be king. I'm destined to be rich. I'm destined to die. I'm destined to be something. And you got to come back to it. So we got an entire book about this person who's destined to do something. Wish I had a dice near. Roll it right now. And say what gender is both these characters. Let's just get that out of the way. Do my 1, 2 female, 3, 4 male. I don't have a 6-sided dice. 1 through 3, we have an 8-sided dice. Is going to be female. 4 through 6 male. 7, so female, first character, second character, female. So we got 2 females, 2 female humans for our characters here in this fantasy. And it's person versus destiny. Maybe they're destined to be free. This is the past on the plane. Like, man, we have this, like, but it's fantasy. So how's that going to tie into things in life? We have 2 female characters. They were rolled. I just don't want to think about it. We'll just include that into there and maybe somehow make it a something. I'm really struggling. Like, I'm thinking vacation right now. They're going to survive vacation. They go into Fantasy Island where all their dreams will come true, or at least the dreams they think they have. Who knows? I don't. I'm still trying to figure that out. Obviously. I think it's obvious, at least. I'm talking enough, not writing any. So we have a last chapter with Destiny on a plane. 2 people, 2 primary characters. Are they lovers? Are they friends? Are they enemies? Let's roll that dice because I don't want to think too hardly about it. So lovers 1, friends 2, don't know each other 3, enemies 4. 2, that was friends. So they're friends. So we have 2 female friends. They're on a plane. This is the last chapter, and they've known each other. They're friends. They've had to know each other for a while. Maybe and this is fantasy. I don't know. Maybe they end up together. Maybe that's the fantasy, that they could live in a world where they wouldn't be persecuted. But let's go off the other angle. As I've stated before, and I'll always state, I deal with very serious things when I write all the time. Let's just get a little bit fun with the fantasy genre, maybe. Maybe there's some magic involved. Why are they on a plane, though? Let's get rid of the magic idea. So then, well, I mean, if I maybe the fantasy could be they join the Mile High Club. They realize they love each other. That would be more of a romance fantasy. Romance fantasy. But I already have a subject for romance fantasy. I should really probably make this a little bit fantasy. Something a little bit more specific, like fantasy adventure, romance fantasy. Yeah, I don't know. Old Southern rape fantasy that they had, like, no, that's a bad subject. Fantasy would be, fudge, man. And it's in the past, so I can't, like, just make too much stuff up. I mean, it doesn't have to be on Earth. I could use someone else's fictional timeline. That might be fun, but not where I'm at today. as far as being able to try to think of this story and create a story. Quantity of primary character is 1. 2, rather. Point of view is 3rd. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's with yeah, let's do that. Maybe it is. Maybe they do join the Mile High Club, and you don't have to like get into it, you know? I mean, the whole chapter would be maybe about setting up the situation. That's kind of lame. That'd be more like romance. If we're going to do like romance with fantasy adventure, it'd be romantasy. I think let's do high magic. Let's do person versus destiny. Let's go off on the fantasy with magic. So past time doesn't really matter because this is just going to be a fictional world. But they got to be on a plane in this fantasy too. So am I going to like mix in magic with modern day on a plane? Really hard to have a plane. I'm not going to do steampunk. If I'm going to do classic like Dungeons and Dragons based fantasy, I wouldn't. What would be the conflict? Let's write this story. This is the last chapter. And they're friends on a plane. Ah, fudge, man. How much time I've already wasted in 12 minutes? I don't got anything. I got nothing. I got nothing worth pretending. It's the plane part. Like, I'm stuck on that. Like, how can I make the novel last chapter on a plane unless they're getting away from? And that's fantasy. In a world of magic. Okay, we'll do that. We'll just make magic everything. Planes can exist in my magic world. I don't have to have this in some like King Arthur type Knights and Dragons setting. Nor do I have to think of someone else's sort of setting. I can make my own up. Magic plane. And then if I had the chapters, so if we're on a magic plane, they're going to be magic users of some sort. I don't know how or why or what. There's going to be some weird fiction involved. God, this sucks. Fantasy. Maybe something like, let's just write something. Maybe something will come out because right now yeah. Maybe they're the pilots. Maybe they got to pilot the magic plane. Oh boy, do we really need another story about a magic plane in our lives? What could this be about? What would it be called? Magic plane? It's like the final flight before you die or when you're dead. No, let's not do that. Maybe this could have been about, well, it's a fantasy, so that's where the magic comes in. Magic plane. Modern day magic. Magic. Nomics. Magicnomics. Magicnomics, like economics, like Reaganomics, Magicnomics. We can get the commodification of magic in this world. They're going to be on a plane. Maybe they're trying to escape it. Maybe they're trying to get on this plane like any sort of either thriller, chase movie, or heist, which is also thrilling, and they need to get away. And the last scene you see is they're on a plane, and once they get on it, you know, hey, once it takes off, they're going to be free. Story done. For our story here, they're on a plane. And they're running a business. What the hell? I had a story in my mind and I started talking and then I got off on some weird tangent. Now I totally forgot my whole storyline. What was the first? Magicnomics. It could be about fantasy. Fudge. Yeah, this is boring already in my mind. I'm like thinking of two people in a plane casting magic to make it fly. Ugh. Where's my mind today? It's in a weird state of trying to find meaning in this. Let's just do it. Maybe they're both the pilots. They want to join the Mile High Club while flying the plane in the cockpit. I'd have to dance around the sexual nature of it because I haven't put up any sort of forewarning of anyone coming in and hearing my voice about writing deep smut. Because that's what I'm probably about to do in a light manner. What else can I mean, fantasy, sure, that fits. That just fits. Maybe it's a story where they... Now, it all have to be like fantasy, though. I just can't have maybe each one would be like jobs they get to one up. I don't know. They're on a plane. We've rolled the dice. They're two women are the primary characters, and this is their destiny. Let's not do the sex thing. That'd just be awkward. Like their destiny is to go into become pilots and have sex in the cockpit while the plane flies. That's ridiculous. One of these days I should probably get into smut, so that is not today though, because I can expand it. I'll put it to adult fantasy. Maybe I need to, like I've said so many times before, refine the stochastic fiction game story elements, especially the genre. That's just a genre of fantasy. Like the concept of it, like high fantasy, like time doesn't matter and there's two people and they're on a plane. And people who I just don't enjoy high fantasy or fantasy as much as I used to. But if this were a fantasy novel and we were on a plane and we did have magic and we just happen to have two magic users, and it doesn't, I'm for some reason my mind, when I'm thinking of the plane, I'm defaulting to some commercial airliner with passengers or pilots, or there's this sneaky nature. I got sidetracked on this concept of having a story about the whole idea of this chapter, the last chapter, where they'd be hooking up in the background, in the bathroom to join the Mile High Club, which put me into that airliner. If I were to step back and get rid of that concept and say they have to be in a plane, maybe they're in a small little Cessna or some other branded airplane that's smaller for a couple people. And that's the story, their destination then. Maybe they did rob a bank. I can make it about that. You still call it Magicnomics. The entire story is about two people who discover each other through How do they discover? Through magic. And rob banks. And they have one last heist. Is it heist or heist? I mean, if you have magic, gotta be easy to, like, get away with crime. It depends on what their spells are, I suppose. We'll get into that. Maybe they're, like, simple. We're going to have us all in the last chapter. And I could have this very easily, so that's where I'm seeing it too. So sort of working out. Maybe I can make this interesting. We'll call it Magicnomics. I don't have to define how they get each other, meet each other, pair bond. They're not going to necessarily be pair bonded. They're going to be friends. I didn't roll for deep romance or pair bonding of any means. The magic is their nature, and so maybe I'd weave that into the story really deeply. And so maybe that would be the kind of the sexual nature instead of physically touching. Their magic auras are actually what's going to give them some sort of erotic connection, if there was one. And maybe there's not. I don't have to write those chapters. This is the chapter about them. I think they're going to try to fly the plane with whatever special magic powers they've got. And I think I'm going to limit them to not like having the ability to read a spell, but it's more something that has came from somewhere. Maybe hintings of toxic event. I'm thinking of heroes, especially in the 80s and the 70s. Throughout time, likely. I'm sure they're inside of mythology and all that, somewhere where someone gets tainted with something and they become a superhero. I was thinking of the Toxic Avenger for some reason. I think they were able to live on and they were avenging other people's deaths. I never was much into that. But even you go into any sort of the Marvel heroes, there's many of them that some chemical altered their body and then they're superheroes. I don't know if I want to get into that. I think it's just going to have magic. It comes from someplace that they can channel. Maybe. Ooh, yes. Could throw a little bit of religion into it too. Magicnomics. Maybe they do yeah. That's how they get their magic. It's like ancient lore. People press their palms together and pray not because, not originally at least, they do now, but originally it was actually to someone's true magic that everyone got cut off from. When they started to worship it and call it God. And these two who are atheists have tapped into that. They've tapped into God, the actual essence, which doesn't have necessarily agency. No agency, in fact. Because it's okay. So that's going to be it. Magicnomics. Do we still want that? Magical souls? Maybe that or Magicnomics. Okay, so let's get beyond that. So we do have these two people. That's kind of fun. At least for me to write. So this might be able to work out. Third person, two people, present tense. I gotta think of present tense. Genre fantasy. So they're gonna be able to cast magic. They know each other. They're just friends, not romantically involved. They're both wanting cash and to leave. But if you had magic, I got to think of a couple magic things they can do. One magic thing they can do. They press their palms together. What are some names? Zoe and Kylie. Yes, Zoe and Kylie. Well, I'm going to have Zoe. They got to press their palms together and press against, thumbs against chest. Presses palms together and pushes thumbs into thumbs against chest. So presses palms together and pushes thumbs against chest. Okay, so Kylie is going to do the same. I should probably move these words so I don't get these. I'd like to reference this too. I can build up a little bit of backstory. It'll help me at least end the story here. And then I can include it. I won't need to include it because this is a novel last chapter, unlike when I do a flash fiction story within the stochastic fiction game, and it actually needs some sort of plot resolution, fun, all in a few seconds. Kylie presses palms. Zoe presses palms together and pushes her thumb against chest. Kylie presses palms and mumbles in tongues. Okay, so what are their two? One, they're going to get the fantasies. They each have one spell-like ability. If I were creating characters in some sort of hero system, Pathfinder, Dungeons and Dragons, or even Daggerheart these days, Mouse Ritter, I think the Black Eye. I haven't created a character in that yet. I think that's what it's called. I just bought it a minute ago. So this idea and concept of like spell-like abilities is not something that's foreign to me. Many years ago when younger, you always imagine you have a spell-like ability. I can't remember what mine was. The ability to write, I suppose. It felt like a spell-like ability then. For this right here, I just want to think of one spell-like ability for both of these, and that's where the fantasy aspect. But fate, shoot. What is their destiny? Their destiny is to die? So what's the conflict now? I got characters. I got kind of a scene. I got two people that can have some sort of spell-like abilities. One presses palms together and thumbs against chest. That's the way that she sort of tunnels into her ability to gather the energy around and really focus it to do something. And then Kylie can press palms together and mumbles in tongues instead of thumbs against chest. So there's like two different means in which they are able to summon this magical aura through them and channel it. The destiny I have, like I say often, I guess technically I have some ideas. I don't have any good ideas. Like, they're destined to die. We're all kind of destined to die. It's not the exception. They're destined to live forever. They're destined, like, to be rich. They're destined to get caught. I got to set up some. They know when they're going to die. The destiny. I need to look that up. I need a search and return engine right now. I need some ideas on the destiny. So I'm just going to use a search and return engine and type in person versus destiny examples, because I'm actively trying to avoid or change their fate, or coming to terms with accepting their destiny, even if it's undesirable. It's also man versus fate. Let's see. Characters actively trying to change their fate. The Lion King. Simba rejects the destiny of being a king, but then comes around to it. Macbeth is the prophecy of the king. Star Wars, Journey, the destiny is to defeat. Okay. Odysseus, mini challenge. That's such a bad not hitting examples. Person versus fate. Their fate. I'm not reading that anymore because it's not going to help me. Person versus destiny. Man versus fate. Person versus destiny. What is their destiny right now? To get on this plane? To fly? Ooh, that's exciting. I feel like there's got to be, like, maybe they have. Maybe it kills them. Maybe that's it. Using it and tapping it actually defiles their bodies. Is that... I mean, everyone's destined to die. This just hasten. Is that really a person versus destiny? Maybe. Like, they're not destined to be the... They're fighting their destiny of always having to hide, being found out. But then you just wouldn't use the spell. Like, if I had a spell like a bell, I'm going to go with this. So I got to dive into this because I want to make this a story. I want to make this the last chapter. I do have an hour and 26 minutes left. That is not a lot of time. But I have, what's their spell like ability? That'll help the destiny part. And now I'm thinking of, like, there's the mini shows that exist of, I can't name them all, where each, even like in superhero world, where each has this feature, this ability that is a spell, like would be like a fantasy spell like ability that I'm thinking about. And they all have, like, they can go fast, they're super strong. Maybe they're the ultimate, they got all the things they can do. They're strong, they can fly, they got stuff coming out of their eyes to kill people or to save people for that matter. So I guess in a sense this is, yeah, now thinking of lots of different, that's the popular thing these days. Zoe presses palms together and pushes her thumbs against chest. Maybe it's not like a, maybe it's the opposite. Maybe, whoa, wait a second here. How would they find each other? Through their spell that they have discovered. Maybe it's a charming type thing, or a friendly thing, or a seeking type, because they somehow sought each other out, and empathy. They can pull empathy within and give it to other people. That's how they found each other. I've had this flash thought, and I say it out loud. Maybe they even both have like a cancer-like thing. They're both hastened to destined to die sooner rather than later. And maybe that's where they met. And so instead of like going and robbing a bank, it could be they're going to go and try to make people empathetic to each other and have empathy before they die. Why are they on a plane? What was I? Chest. So let's do two different types of emotions here. I think that's important to this fantasy. Who meet, let's do this, during chemotherapy. After each. After they connect through some. How to call it out without saying magic. You know, I don't want to, like, if I were writing, which I do write fantasy, and I do write, but I also write fantasy, adventure, in my own, spell, goblin, humanoid, dragon world. So I've thought about spells a lot. And when you're talking that world, saying magic or spell, it puts you there. It connects you there deeper. I don't want magic or spell, though. So I got to change the name of that probably to Magicomics to something else. Maybe. Magic does is a keyword that puts people there, but I don't want to use spell or magic in here. I want to make it more mystical, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I will. I don't know what I'm saying right now. I'm just trying. I realize there's lots of like misspellings here too. Like sometimes I do use B's instead of P's. And that's probably spelled wrong anyway. So the story is about two people meeting during chemotherapy. What's their spell-like abilities? And I can come back and do this, and I think I'd write this story, this last chapter of in a plane. I could figure out the plane. We can do it. I can do it. It'll be done. Zoe presses palms together and pushes her thumbs against chest. Channeling a swelling. How do you channel empathy and show it and then write that? That's just saying I'm channeling empathy. We'll just say Zoe channels empathy. So I can have this note. And who was the characters? Kylie. What does Kylie do? She presses her palms and mumbles in tongues. So voice. Can what? calm, soothe. And I got to use this for them to connect too. So I don't know if that's actually going to work out really well. Zoe channels empathy. Voice. The charm. Um, empathy. I don't know about the channeling. Channels empathy. Channels empathy into others, for others. I can't think of the plane. Has, I need to make it, like, I thought about using breast cancer, which of all of these would be the higher likely cause of cancer in a woman. Or not cause, or the likely type. Cause, I'm not smart enough to go into that. Nor have I really never had the experience of cancer, fortunately. For me, myself, through loved ones, yes. So touch upon that a little bit. I want to go here. I was thinking about not going this deep, but let's do that. Let's do this. I like that. And maybe it's just terminal. I guess let's just go there. I don't know where else. Why not? I wrote it. It's a storyline. That's the destiny. So at least I have a way of the channel to connect. Connect two people. Transfer. Or I can at least write it out, and it's more of a thing than not. I don't know what that means. And then I can build on it. So just thinking about it in my own mind or talking about it. I'm trying to talk what I think. It's a little bit of the point of this, for me at least. To know what and how the story's created through a little bit of a state of being, cancer. I don't want to think about it. Not that it's always a thought when you get older. People start getting it, that you know, more frequently. Let's just try it. Transfer collective. Her thumbs against chest to connect two people and transfer. And find within them a means to connect them, no matter how much hate exists between them. Kylie presses palms and mumbles in tongues. To convince people to listen first and then speak. Kylie presses palms and mumbles in tongues to convince people to listen first and then that's where I'm kind of lost a little bit, is the pressing the palms and mumbles in tongues. Cool. That's how it sort of works. Why are they in a plane? I got to get them in a plane somehow. I need more locations too. I feel like I've had plane more often than I really expect to have a story that's in a plane. As opposed to like a house. I should weight these maybe, but I guess it's kind of fun because they all have the same weight or value to be randomly chosen, selected to create these story elements. But I think I have, looking at the story elements right now, I think I have the past, sure. What is it? Doesn't matter. Like, it's going to be in the Cessna. It could be in the 90s. It could be in 2000s. I don't need to reference that too much, but I do need to start writing the final chapter. I got an hour left. What does Kylie press? At least they met through chemo. Let's get that out there. I don't need to get into that too deep. Okay. I don't know. I'm probably going to be calling this thing Magiconomics. Magical Souls. I don't know if that's kind of cold, but I want it that way. And not that, I want to point out the defective nature of cancer, more the defective nature of society thinking that there's something wrong with having empathy or listening to other people. I think having empathy is, unfortunately, bad these days in a lot of people's minds. But also call out to the cancer and the state of things and the chaos that's going to be in this plane that they're going somewhere on. Charms. Calms. Think. I want to be very specific about what this does, and that way I can use it into the story. So Kylie's voice, charm, Kylie's mumbles, charm, calms, it calms, and whispers. A story. It releases oxytocin. I don't know if it's more susceptible to be listened to. I just looked up the word oxytocin, and I'm going to use it. I need a C though. Muscles, mumbles. I need a B for mumbles. Kylie's mumbles calm and release oxytocin. Calms and release oxytocin in people hearing her mumble. That's what it does. How do I channel empathy for others? Maybe they both do it and they use it differently. I'm not going to have Zoe. How does Zoe release the empathy for others? It's got to be a little bit more. Not that the mumbling calm and that sort of, let's just, I don't have time. I have an hour and 5 minutes left. And I have a story. I'm just going to leave that. That's what it's going to be called. It's called Defects. They're now in a plane. It's the final chapter. They're in a plane. Like, why are they on a plane? They're not going to be on a plane with the people. I'm like flying. I don't know, flying away. I don't. Are they being chased? Did they rob a bank? Are they like the Blues Brothers and they're stealing all this money for charity? I think that's what those. Yeah, remember, it's been a while since I've seen that movie, so I could be totally wrong. But if I remember, they got the money. God, what the hell? They had to donate it and get there fast enough. I'm not saying there was exact robbery involved. I don't know where I was going with that. I don't want it to be robbery. I'm thinking of a different movie. Yes. My mind just got cluttered a lot. To being insanely wrong with the subject matter that at one point, when I first thought of it from my mind, seemed so true. Let's get back to the reality of the story and where they're supposed to actually be. Why are they on a plane? I've got a world. It can go 10 years ago. They're on a plane. Why? What? Now? Are they going to be doing? Why are they on the plane? They're not going to be going and trying to get money to a charitable event and being chased for one reason or another, whether it's through theft or breaking laws to get to a place fast, to beat time. That could be it. Maybe they are. Maybe they are trying to beat time. Maybe they're on this plane just to get away. Tired. Like they're exhausted. All the rest of the book, they were helping people. What would be the conflict of that, though? It's like some boring, feel-goody thing. You still got to have conflict. I guess the conflict would be people then trying to kill them or people trying to convert them. So maybe something like, I got to write some backstory, right, for this chapter. As they met and started to use their abilities to help others, they became famous and known and helpful to many people, almost changing the dynamics of society. Until governments and saw a way out. Okay. So we have them in a plane. We would have had conflict. The conflict would be until governments and corporations want to detain and control them. After they are chased and helped by people they helped, Plain sight, right? Not plain sight. Okay. Maybe it's a little bit more deeper than that. So that's how they got. That's why they're on the. They just want to get out. They loved helping the people, and it got famous, and that could happen in the past, right? So it's not like just the concept of overnight success due to the internet, or even something that could be 40 years ago if you had this sort of ability to convince people to talk. You could definitely go on talk shows, make people, even if it was fake, that believe that it was real, which people often did, getting possessed, things like that. Speaking in tongues still happens, but just on the internet more likely these days. And, well, just as interesting as a possible story to have. You could have this back in the day, is all I'm saying. And it catch on. So they could get really famous very easily. And that fame drives them away and wants them to just leave. But they're also being chased because of that fame. And I need that this is them on the, they got to the plane. They got to the plane the previous chapter. That was kind of the penultimate chapter. The second to last one where you set everything up, resolve the conflict sometimes. So then you just kind of have, instead of having an epilogue, prologue, epilogue, you have a final chapter that sort of ties up all the plot points and puts a little bit of bow on it. And the minor plot points and the minor conflicts. Maybe setting up a second story after it, or another story, or the fifth story. These days, the 20th story it could be. So this doesn't this is just them trying to get through. There's still going to be the tension of them getting and flying. And one's coughing. So let's just start with the characters, and then I can think of the name of the chapter after. So Zoe presses palm. Zoe coughs. No, who would be coughing? I want Kylie coughs. Cough. Legs. Boom. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Wenham's got to die. Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be Zoe. I think so. I think Zoe's going to sacrifice to be able to, when this plane gets raided, have so much empathy that they leave. The plane takes off. And yes, Kylie is also going to die, but she dies maybe the next book, if this were to continue on. And then there'd be like, maybe in this book, one of them, Kylie got pregnant somehow. There'd be like anyway. I don't have to worry about that story because that story is likely never going to be written or exist after this time of me thinking for the Stochastic fiction game. This particular story, and it has to be the novel last chapter, and I got to finish that. I got 52 minutes left. This time right there is still ticking down, and I still don't have a final chapter written. So Zoe's going to die. I need to add the tension. So let's have that at the first chapter. What type of law enforcement would have been chasing them? If they were illegal aliens, like in my book, Illegal Aliens, it would be customs, because they're created beings. They're not created beings. They're not illegal workers or undocumented, blah-de-blah, whatever label you want to put upon that. And so they're not like it would be ICE. They're not about immigrants. They've got cancer, special ability. It's going to have to be Homeland Security somehow, right? Just not ICE. I think Homeland, yeah. Oh boy. I don't even want to think about the power structures of the federal government in the United States of America right now. That's a boring subject. I can do that later today. I'll probably do that later today. Don't need to do it for this story. It doesn't need to be the government. The government wouldn't snap to it like that. But it would. But this is the past, so it's fantasy. With the government, because is the government one? I just got to figure that out because that's going to affect how her empathy is going to, like, drive their motive, and then be able to allow me to at least understand how to set up to counteract that with empathy. If it's government, you have some sort of purpose beyond money. At least I would hope. I'm not saying that's naive to say that. Because it's all about money in the end. Not like you do it for free. You do it for less money than if you're doing it for private. Some would be doing it for the security into it, but also for less pay for more access. If this is the past, though, I don't want to start thinking about the state of things right now. But I still want to write about it. I just can't write about it that directly. It won't be. I think it's gonna be a private entity. We'll make this like a fantasy thing. And they could have bought airport security, so it would be TSA. That would be TSA. They're agents that are acting like they're TSA. For TSA agents in wearing bulletproof double gripping their, I don't know what type of guns they would use. I honestly, like, I know the guns I've shot. I'm not sure like what other people use for general issue. So would, oh, they have their own law enforcement. Okay. So we'll say air marshals. That's even better. Okay, so TSA wouldn't have it, so we'll say air marshals. Air marshals. That makes a lot more sense. Thank you, search and return engine. I was looking up to see what type of guns TSA would have. TSA does not carry guns. It'd be like an air marshal or local law enforcement. I like the idea of the air marshal. But then you can have some commanding body that represents the person who's corrupted the air marshal. It would just happen to be an air marshal. That's that's just it though. They can't. The air marshal are not going to be part of the conspiracy to kill them. They are being influenced by them, and maybe it could be other fantasy type characters that are able to influence people, and that would be something that I would work toward. Maybe that's what I'll write into. And I don't got a lot of time left. I don't need to talk much anymore. I just need to write 4 air marshals wearing bulletproof vests and double gripping their, we'll just say 45s, their pistols. Sidestep. Okay, so Kylie coughs and licks a bit of blood from lip. So Zoe, she grabs a bottle of water. Zoe's not the one that would be, usually trying to calm people because she doesn't have that voice. Says, "Close your eyes, mumble for yourself. Don't mumble in your home." Her lips part to say, and I don't know. I don't want to use damn dash. Kylie breathes deep and slumps in chair, closes eyes. Her lips part to say, Zoe presses. Don't. An air marshal. I would say that there's going to be the counter force. Maybe that's just it. Maybe it would be that sort of chasing thing, and this person's found a way to survive with the power long enough. So this would be like the enemy has taken over the air marshals. That would be the lead up to this. The enemy, I don't know who that enemy, Jacques. Ooh, let's see, let's roll the gender dice again. It is unknown. It is a 7. 7 and 8 are they. There is no gender. I don't know. It's ambiguous. Doesn't need to be stated. That's how. After they chased and helped by people, they helped. Whoa, man. After they are chased, they are helped by people they healed. Valance, who has an ability to what I gotta think of. Lance's has brain cancer. Ooh. It can Valance, who has brain cancer and can use their mind to psychically, I'm not even psychically, cyclically, that can't be a word. I'm going to let it go, though. It can't be right now. And can use their mind to psychically connect to others. and enhance okay, so Vlance controls four air marshals right now on the plane. Just entered. Vlance controls four air marshals right now on the plane who just entered. Okay. So that was the previous book, chapter, everything. So this that'd be the tentative chapter title. We have this. Okay. This is the final chapter. I think I'm going to have Zoe. I should start writing. I got 36 minutes left out of all this time, all this talking. I might have a story, but now I got to write it. And it'll probably still seem empty. We'll rate it nevertheless. Or never the more. Or it won't be never. Any air marshal stands near and appears from behind. Zoe closes her eyes. She raises her palms. She presses her palms. The air marshal raises their pistol at Zoe's head. Maybe she saves Zoe. And what's going to happen? I don't know. Are they both the air marshal raises their pistol, his pistol. We'll roll the dice. His pistol is Zoe's head. I think I'll have Kylie mumbles. Mumbles, then grumbles. Talking deep. People sitting around, people's eyes twitch, roll up into their head. Head shake. And loosen. And connect. And feeling. All right, I have something to write. I do have 32 minutes left. I do need to pause. I'll also be cycling some water. I'll be returning. Let's find those words again. I think I have a story. At least one I'm not going to probably totally hate. But I think it fits the stochastic fiction game outline. Just the fact, story elements. And those story elements for today, let's just look at them again. Because I did get a little bit lost there. I think I got it in the right tense, but we're going to find out. So we have setting time past. Sure, this could happen in the past. I'm not going to make a point of pointing it out. I'll just make sure it doesn't seem like it's in the future. Or the present as much. Setting main location, plane, yes, that's where they are right now. Last chapter. Conflict, person versus destiny. They're both destined to die. But they also want to be, they're almost destined to be caught too. We'll find out which one, what is their destiny. Do they control it? Where they do it? Quantity of primary characters, 2. Yes, there are 2 characters. Point of view, 3rd. I think I've hit it. Tense, present tense. I think so. Genre, fantasy. Absolutely. I got fantasy aspects. Novel, last chapter. Okay. Vlantz. Vlantz is the antagonist. Vlantz. And like this will be the way I get. This is just trying to make it like a spell. I don't know. I'm just trying to get some. Connect 40 people. 40 people in one air marshal. Not that they're not people, but they're in this story. I got to keep them separate. 41 people, including an air marshal. Who lowers their gun and looks at their phone. Searching for images of their now dead dog, Frank. No stares at the peering eyes along the sights. The air marshal gripping their gun, slipping their finger to the trigger. She feels and mumbles and coughs. Blood coats her lips. Triggering a thought. In the air marshal's mind. Of who Kylie. Smile. And they're old friends. Well, now this is getting a little bit away of what I originally thought of this to be, but I don't know how else to write this, and I don't got a lot of time. I got 24 minutes to push out these words as fast as possible. So I don't know how this magic's going to work as those, but I want to show it a little bit. I don't know if I'll be able to be that successful at doing it. Maybe, maybe not. His friends through that her mutual friend Tom. There, Marshall lowers gun. So, Zoe prays. We want Kylie. Kylie's the one that mumbles. Kylie mumbles. This is Kylie. Zoe. And this. So Kylie. Mumbles. Coughs. Blood. Triggering. That's just so. Captain thinks of his daughter and her want of a cat. Now he's probably going to get her a cat after work. Lots of animals. Dogs, cats, rabbits, horses, and even a horse. Talk between the people, showing each other photos of their animals. The captain looks around. Captain of the air marshal. I don't know if there's a captain of the air marshals. I'm probably wrong, but there is going to be in this world right now because I just got to write this. I think that's how you spell marshal. I hope. All right, let's not mumble myself. I got 20 minutes left. The captain of the air marshal walks the aisles and waves the officers out. For pet stores between there and home. Thinking more. His daughter and then the other marshals. Marshals? I have no idea. I'm going to go with marshals. The other marshals. Leave. Stands by the captain stands by Kylie. This is like a quickly abbreviated the way this would end. I don't know, maybe it would end this way. Not like I've written out a narrative or have some sort of standard way to say blah blah, stop talking, right? I'm not liking like this air marshal plan walks the plan. The other marshals leave. And a few meander with one sharing an image of their dog, of her dog. Crying and mumbling about a dead snake they once had. Tired. Kylie quiets while Zoe calms and while her palms part and lay at her side, lay on her lap. She sleeps. Plane lifts, flies, as people talk about their pets, past and present, and share photos. Mini visit. Till they die. The plane lands, and Zoe wakes, feeling weak. Feeling weak. Bright light. And blinking away the bright light. Thinking of the scene right now, I think Kylie is going to be dead. Kylie. The plane lands and Zoe wakes, feeling weak and blinking away the bright light. Kelly lays on her shoulder. No breath, nor beat is felt by Zoe. A stain of blood taints her shoulder. I mean, do I want to end it there? I gotta put at least, something. I'm gonna leave one of these characters fulfill their destiny of going to the beach, getting away from it. The entire plane helps so. They be sure the police and the authorities handle the death with care and ease, helping with paperwork. So doesn't need to pray. I mean, I could build all this up, have some deeper meaning than I think I might have. I don't know. This is written. I got 8 minutes left. That's the story. That's it. That's all I got. Let's read it. I'm gonna stop the clock so it doesn't vibrate real loud. If it hits 0 before I'm actually done reading this aloud, it may take a couple times. We're going to find out. Have a little bit of this remaining coffee I have here. More importantly, I'm going to clear that out with some water. And let's see if I can read this thing aloud. I'll turn that timer off. I don't need to be shocked. That's going to happen frequently throughout the day, possibly. Given life and time. For the day's stochastic fiction game. This is the story with these story elements. Setting time past. Setting main location plane. Conflict person versus destiny. Quantity of primary characters 2. Point of view third. Tense present tense. Genre fantasy. Format novel last chapter. The novel will be called Defects. And it's a story about two people who meet during chemotherapy. They connect through someone and they discover each other through magic. No, wait, Jude. It's I didn't do the bank robbing. I want to at least edit the backstory. I don't want them to do bank robbing. They just meet during chemotherapy. All right, so the story would be called Defects. The story is about two people that meet during chemotherapy. Zoe channels empathy for others into others and has terminal leukemia. Kylie mumbles calm and others release oxytocin, and people hearing her mumble, it releases this oxytocin. She's got terminal throat cancer. She kind of charms people together. Zoe presses palms together to do this and pushes her thumbs against her chest to connect to people, to find within them a means to connect no matter how much the hate exists between them. And then Kylie presses palms and mumbles in tongues to people to listen first and then speak and then have this oxytocin release. As they meet, they started getting to know each other, and they used their abilities to help others, became famous and known and helpful to many people, also changing the dynamic of society until governments and corporations wanted to detain and control them. And I created something called Vlans, and after Vlans are chased, they are helped by people they healed and connected with to spread the love. They find themselves in a plane, hiding in plain sight, waiting to leave with their new identities and wanting to just be on a beach and live out their days looking at the sky. Vlans, who has brain cancer, can use their mind to cyclically connect to others and enhance their desires. I don't know, I'm laughing at the word cyclically. I don't know what the hell I meant there. To do their job or their beliefs. Vlance controls 4 air marshals right now on the plane and just entered. And its plane is where both Kylie and Zoe are on. And this is the final chapter. It's called Empathy. I'll rate it at the end. I'll just try to read it aloud right now. Empathy. Empathy. 4 air marshals wearing bulletproof vests and double gripping their pistols sidestep along the aisle of the plane, peering at heads, while one air marshal talks with the captain while pointing over the rows. Kylie coughs and licks a bit of blood from her lip. Zoe pulls a water bottle from her bag. Here, Kylie grabs the water bottle and nods. Zoe says, close your eyes, sleep, calm, don't mumble. Mumble in your mind for you. She pulls Kylie's bangs from her eye and behind her ear. Kylie breathes deep and slumps in chair, closes her eyes. Her lips part to say. Zoe presses her finger over Kylie's mouth. Don't talk, be calm. Zoe's head sways and body feels heat. An air marshal stands near and peers at Zoe. Zoe closes her eyes and presses her palms before her chest and thumbs into her chest. The air marshal raises his pistol at Zoe's head. Kylie mumbles and grumbles. People's eyes twitch and roll up in their heads, and heads shake and loosen the eyes. Their minds span to connect like shadows between the cracks. They feel similar states of nervousness, fear, wonder, love. Images of dogs named Stan and cats named Pluff connect 40 people. One of those persons, including an air marshal, who lowers their gun and looks at their phone, searching for an image of their now dead dog, Frank. Zoe stares at the peering eyes of the air marshal along the sights. The air marshal grips their gun and slips their finger onto the trigger. Kylie mumbles and coughs. Blood coats her lips, triggering a thought in the air marshal's mind that they are old friends and that just Zoe and his friends know each other through their mutual connection of Tom. So, says the air marshal. He lowers his gun, looks around, making eye contact with his captain. His captain thinks of his daughter and her want of a cat. And I was probably going to get her a cat on the way home from work. Thoughts of dogs and cats, rabbits, and even a horse talk between people showing each other photos of their animals. The captain of the air marshal walks the aisles and waves the officers out. He pulls out his phone and begins to look for pet stores between here and home, thinking more and more of his daughter and the lack of time they have together and that it won't last that long. The other air marshals leave and a few meander, with one sharing an image of a dog with a man crying about and mumbling about a dead snake called Slither. The captain of the plane walks the aisle and nods and tells everyone to remain calm and continue to hold those memories, and we'll be departing soon. Tired, Kylie quiets while Zoe slumps and sleeps. Her palms part and lay on her lap. Zoe sleeps. The plane lifts and flies as people talk about their past and present and share photos and stories of animals and loved ones. A few of the people in the future marry, and many after this plane flight visit and connect through the internet until they die. The plane lands and Zoe wakes, feeling weak and blinking away the bright light. Kylie lays on her shoulder. No breath nor beat is felt by Zoe. The stain of blood stains her shoulder. The entire plane waits for Zoe. The entire plane helps Zoe. They remain to be sure the police and authorities handle the death with care and ease, helping with the paperwork and a place to stay. Zoe doesn't need to pray for the connection and the help as they talk like Kylie of togetherness and love from the plane and through the terminal to the hospital to the police station and finally the beach. Zoe sleeps on the beach day and night, no longer praying but feeling the world around. Well, I don't know. I mean, I like things about it. I could probably do something with this. The idea of using cancer as some sort of means for this magical ability seems a little bit off, possibly. I'd have to think through that deeper, how to approach it. I like the ending, but it's very raw and the words suck, but some ideas there are decent. It's kind of a 1. It's poop. At least for me to write and write now. I do believe at least I have wrote to the Stochastic fiction outline, and I'm going to go ahead and save this file in the memory of it along with the transcript eventually, but let's rate this file. Right, read aloud. It has the elements of the story required. The words in the story. There's only a 1 of 4. Another game is done. And now time to go find some other place, another way to have fun. Which for me will very likely involve finding a way to write.